Right makes might, the true natural law under evolutionary capitalism. Abstract. In contrast to libertarian notions of natural law grounded in negative rights or metaphysical self-ownership, this essay presents an evolutionary capitalist theory of natural law. It argues that the only stable and objective foundation for rights and authority is productivity, defined as one's contribution to the evolutionary production of value, especially toward the creation of a perfect evolutionary being. Within this framework, right is not derived from abstract principles but from observable and reputationally scored productivity. This productivity justifies might, understood as decision-making power. Thus, true natural law is not might makes right, nor right restricts might, but right makes might. Introduction: the collapse of traditional natural law. Historically, natural law theories have relied on pre-political notions of morality, theology, or rational deduction, anchored in immutable individual rights, divine mandates, or axiomatic logic. Yet such systems fail under scrutiny in dynamic, complex environments. They are static in a world that evolves. Libertarianism, for example, bases rights on self-ownership and homesteading, yet cannot resolve disputes when two actors' rights conflict in a finite world. Nor can it explain how rights are enforced without introducing arbitrary power. In contrast, evolutionary capitalism derives natural law not from static axioms but from dynamic fitness. The only sustainable law is that which maximizes long-term evolutionary productivity. And this productivity is best measured and enforced by an emergent, transparent, reputation-based system. And this system, being right, i.e., producing evolutionary economic profit, leads to having might, i.e., earning the right to decide. 2. The evolutionary function of law. Law, in its most fundamental form, is an evolutionary mechanism for solving coordination and conflict. A stable law is one that prevents the waste of resources through conflict, aligns incentives toward productive behavior, evolves with environmental and technological shifts, is enforceable without collapse from free riders or privacy loopholes. In a system governed by general evolutionary game theory, the strategies that survive are those that contribute to the construction of the PEB, the ultimate long-term product of evolution. Therefore, any law that allocates power or property without accounting for productivity is unstable. Under this view, rights are not pre-existing, they are earned through contribution and justified by reputation. 3. Property and power emerge from productivity. In evolutionary capitalism, property is not sacred, it is instrumental. It exists only insofar as it increases the total productivity of the system. Who should control a resource? The individual or group who, if granted control, is most likely to generate the highest net evolutionary economic profit. This is determined not by declarations or prior claims, but by bids, reputation scores, and transparent information. Enforcement systems evolve to favor the highest bidder because doing so increases their own long-term reputational returns. Thus, decision-making power, the essence of might, is conferred not by coercion, not by majority vote, not by heritage, but by evolutionary profit. Those who produce value are entrusted with more decisions, because history shows they are most likely to generate future value. This is the literal meaning of right makes might. 4. The death of voluntarism and subjective value. Libertarians argue for voluntarism and subjective value, but both crumble under evolutionary scrutiny. Voluntarism is unstable in a world with information asymmetries and coordination problems. Subjective value is incoherent if decisions must be made for the group and future generations. Evolution does not care what an individual feels about value, it selects for outcomes that improve survival and optimization. Under evolutionary capitalism, value is relative, not subjective. It is measured by comparing the output of different agents over time, in transparent conditions, judged by how well their outputs contribute to the ultimate evolutionary goal. The decision to allocate power must therefore rest on relative productivity, not sentiment, not preference, and not contracts. Reputation as the medium of natural law. How is productivity measured? Through a reputation system, an evolutionary scorecard that aggregates the public history of each agent's contributions, failures, bids, and outcomes. Unlike privacy-based systems that allow destructive actors to hide their inefficiencies or crimes, a transparent reputation system eliminates the noise. The system enforces evolutionary property law, in which control over resources flows to those who have most proven their worth. The magnitude of reputation is the magnitude of earned sovereignty. Thus, reputation is natural law made operational, a distributed algorithm for determining whose decisions most benefit the system. 6. Right makes might, a law of evolution. Right makes might is not a slogan, it is a corollary of GEGT and the first evolutionary law of property, which states, a property claim is justified if, and only if, the total reputational revenue generated from its use exceeds the total cost of its defense. This law replaces Lockean labor theory, utilitarian calculation, and libertarian axioms. It is game-theoretically stable, information-efficient, and evolutionarily grounded. Over time, systems that fail to obey it collapse under their own inefficiencies. Those that obey it converge toward maximum productivity. In this framework, right equals demonstrated evolutionary productivity. Might equals decision-making power over property, systems, or others. Natural law equals the process by which right yields might. 7. Conclusion, toward a post-political morality. Under evolutionary capitalism, law is not declared, it is discovered. It is not given, it is earned. And it does not rest on intuition, but on measurable productivity. The only right that is sustainable is the right to produce. The only might that is justifiable is the might that has been proven through contribution. This is the evolutionary meaning of justice. In the end, true natural law is not that might makes right, but that right, as judged by evolutionary productivity, makes might.